Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So here we are in Advent, and I don't know if you knew this about Advent, but Advent is not a penitential season. Penitential, like Lent, is a penitential season. Like Fridays during the year are usually penitential days. Advent is not a season of penance. Advent is a season of devout and joyful preparation for the coming of Jesus. That's like kind of like the definition. And I just think this is really interesting. Let's break some of this down, right? Because if we want to like really enter into the season of Advent, let's understand what it is. So it's devout. Now, when I think devout, I often think of like pious, right? I picture someone in a corner, like, with their hands folded, kind of looking slightly away, like, I'm very pious, right? That's not what devout means. Devout means firm. It means resolute. Devout means powerful or wholehearted. Advent is the wholehearted and joyful preparation for Christ's coming. So joyful. What's joy? Well, recognize that while joy and happiness often coincide, they often happen together, that joy is something more profound than mere happiness. Happiness often comes out of our circumstances, right? So I'm happy because I feel good. I'm happy because things are going well for me. I'm happy because of my circumstances. Joy is the ability to have a certain happiness independent of your circumstances. An abiding sense of well-being because I know that the Father loves me. Joy is the abiding sense of well-being that comes from the fact that I know that God knows my name and He loves me. So when you want to have joy, not dependent on your circumstances, not dependent on are things going well or poorly, joy is a choice because it's choosing to remember, I'm going to choose to live with that abiding sense that I know the Father knows me and the Father loves me. And because of that, my circumstances can be awful and I can still have joy. My circumstances can be painful and I can still have joy. I can still choose this because I will choose to abide in His love. I will choose to abide in the absolute certain possession of Him. So, Advent is the wholehearted and joyful preparation for Christ's coming. Now, here's the interesting part. I think the other part's interesting too, but this is also interesting. Preparation for Christ's coming. I often default back to this idea that, preparation for Christmas. So if you have a good Advent, you can have a good Christmas. I want to have a great Christmas, so I want to have a great Advent. No. Yes, at Christmas, we celebrate the fact that Christ has come into this world. Absolutely, of course we celebrate that. But we also celebrate and prepare for the fact that we know He's going to come again. That we know that Jesus is going to come again. And so, yeah, we want to prepare to be able to celebrate, to worship Him well at Christmas. That's 100% great. But the goal of Advent is not to have a Merry, Merry Christmas. The goal of Advent ultimately is to be able to worship Him well and celebrate the fact that He came into this world well, but also to prepare for His second coming. Now, those are the two kind of major arrivals of Christ, His past coming at the original Christmas and His future coming at the end of time. But the great saints have talked about this intermediary arrival of Christ, this intermediary coming of Jesus into our lives. That's when He comes to us. Whenever we pray, whenever we open up His Word, He's present. Whenever we gather in His name, He's present with us. Whenever we're in the presence of the Eucharist, we're in the presence of Him. So there's also this intermediary coming of Jesus into our lives. Here's my question. If Advent is the wholehearted and joyful preparation for the coming of Jesus into our lives, if Jesus showed up in your life, would there be any room for Him? Let's think about that. If Jesus showed up in your life today, not like at Christmas time where everyone knows He was born in a stable, so I want Him to have room in my life. Today, in your schedule, if Jesus wanted some more space, if He wanted some more room in your life, would He have room in your life? And I think that's one of the reasons why people are critics of Advent and say, we listen to too much Christmas music during Advent and too much Christmas parties during Advent and too much Christmas food during Advent and too much Christmas drinks during Advent. Why? Is that because those things are bad? In fact, if you do a little bit of those things all throughout Advent, I think that helps me prepare. It helps me prepare. It helps me get into the mood, right? To have a party here or some little, taste of the food here, to have some Christmas music there. Those things are good. But the problem is we end up not using this phenomenal word that we should get used to and use all throughout our lives, but especially in Advent. And that word is no. When you were a kid, they didn't have 24-hour Christmas music playing everywhere you go. When you were a kid, you didn't have Christmas party after Christmas party after Christmas party. When you were a kid, you didn't have all the Christmas food and all the Christmas drinks you ever possibly could want. When you were a kid, you had limited amounts of all of those things. Here's a little bit of Christmas music. Here is like the one Christmas party that you would go to as a kid. But as adults, we have all these options and we just have forgotten how to say no. But it's saying no that gives Christ space. It gives him room to enter into our lives. This Advent, even though it's not a penitential season, I invite all of us, including myself, to exercise no. Here's some good music, great, and then no. Here's that Christmas movie I love, great, and then after it's done, I don't watch the next 12 of them. Here's some parties, you know what, maybe just this one or just this two. I need to say no more so that I can say yes more to Jesus. For all of us here at Ascension Presents, my name is Father Mike. God bless.